Welcome to The Abundance Journey, the show that helps spiritual entrepreneurs create an abundance mindset that accelerates revenue. Here's your host, the Abundance Ambassador, Elaine Starling.
What if the very pain that broke you was also the key to your power? What if the trauma that silenced your voice was actually training you to become a guide for others who still feel lost in the dark? Now, imagine for just a minute here, imagine surviving not just one, but layers of soul-shattering experiences, childhood trauma, military sexual harassment, generational grief, and the ache of being alienated from your own children. And then imagine rising from that and not just surviving, but becoming a living transmission of healing, truth, and spiritual awakening. That's the kind of story that we're talking about today, because this isn't about inspiration. It's about integration. It's about what happens when someone alchemizes their wounds, transmuting them into wisdom and turning their breakdowns into a breakthrough path for others. Well, our guest today has done exactly that. And what she's going to share with you could really, truly, forever shift the way you see and experience your own pain. You're going to be blown away by Caroline Rena. She's a spiritual guide, a writer, podcaster, Army veteran, and trauma-informed transformational coach. She's dedicated to supporting individuals on their healing journey through trauma and grief. Caroline experienced a transformative journey that empowered her to integrate her innate gifts and expertise into her work today. She knows firsthand just how important it is to release anxiety, overwhelm, and ingrained unconscious belief systems so that you can address the trauma that's stored in your nervous system. Caroline coaches her clients to discover their truth, heal, and elevate their vibrational frequency so they contribute to a collective shift in mass consciousness. She's really committed to extending her healing magic further. She uses her podcast, Awakening Soul Divinity, and her YouTube channel to leverage the power of shared experiences and collective wisdom, creating profound, positive changes in life and in the world around us. Caroline knows that together we embark on a healing journey that becomes a catalyst for evolution of our planet. Caroline, I'm so glad you could join us today.
Thank you so much, Elaine. I'm really happy to be here, even if I do lose my voice.
I know, you're just working with the bare minimum here today.
I know, right? Yeah,
I'm still going to make you do some talking, though, because you're so brilliant. You are so brilliant. I can't wait. I've really been looking forward to this, and I'm going to be taking notes the whole time, because every time we get together and talk, I learn so much and I evolve that much more. But before we get going, we're going to do two things to connect our energy, yours, mine, all of the listeners and viewers, with the God of our understanding. And we're going to do two things that help make that connection happen. First, we're going to take 3 long, slow, deep breaths together. And as we breathe in through the nose, think the words, I am. And as we breathe out through the mouth, think the word consciousness. Then after that, I'm going to share our intention. I'm pointing at my heart. Our intention is the experience we choose to create and how we choose to feel about it. Think of it as kind of like typing into a spiritual GPS. This is the address where we're going. And we're going to hold that intention in silence for 78 seconds. I'm sure I'm the only show that does this. And I do it for a very specific reason. When we take the time to do this, we empower, I call this the divine, the God of your understanding. The divine can lock into that vibrational signal, and that's what we co-create together during our conversation. So, yeah, how can it get even better than this? Ready to play?
Ready to play.
Awesome. Let's take those 3 deep breaths together. Breathe in, I am. Breathe out, consciousness. Breathe in, I am. Breathe out consciousness. Breathe in, I am. Breathe out consciousness. In love and light, we hold the intention that we heal our nervous systems by releasing anxiety, overwhelm, and unconscious beliefs to uncover and awaken the truth of who we are. So we enjoy vibrantly healthy, richly prosperous, and fulfilling lives. Thank you, Divine. Thank you, thank you, thank you. It is done.
Oh.
We give thanks, and so it is. That was really interesting because I have this bluebird house near my office, and the bluebird, he comes around to all the windows and sees his reflection and attacks his reflection. And he was busy attacking a window while I was holding the silence. And I just got this immediate knowing the divine is continually asking us to let them in. Let in the energy. And it's only when we're willing to release that anxiety, overwhelm, and unconscious beliefs that the divine can truly come in for that nourishing, healing experience that we're so eager to receive. It was like, wow, thank you.
And tell me if I'm wrong, but I think bluebirds are also birds that kind of wake you up. They get in your face to make you wake up anyway. So I think that's perfect timing.
Well, they're also known as a symbol of good luck. And okay. I love having them around the house because they eat a lot of bugs, and I'm all for that.
Good luck, yeah.
It was amazing. So did anything come through for you as we were holding that intention?
There's always this, especially when I get around people like you, there's always this like just peaceful energy, this like waves. That's usually, it's just a sweet, peaceful space for me. And that's really all that came up. It was like, we're here at the right time. We're here in the right place. And I explained to you earlier that, the right place, I was led to the library because we have our roof being worked on at my complex. So I'm like, oh my God, how's this going to all work out? So
and you're in the middle of losing your voice too. So I really appreciate your commitment to being here because you have so much wisdom to share. And Caroline, I would never, ever, ever want anyone to be subjected to what you have endured throughout your life. And I've got to tell you, I really commend you for rising up and becoming the strong, beautiful, amazing, charismatic, caring person that you are. Usually I ask people a little bit about, why do you do what you do? But obviously you're passionate about this because you've lived it. You've been there, done that, right?
Yeah. And not only that, it's like in my 30s, I discovered I was an empath, but I really didn't do much with it. And then maybe about 4 or 5 years ago, I started really like going into understanding what it was. And my whole life has always been about, I've had pain and I don't want anybody else to experience the same pain as me. So here's what's going to happen. And it kind of led into this thing where, Carl Jung, he wrote his Black Diaries, and then out from that came his red, I forget what it's called, the Red Book, I think. It's like this thick. So, I never read that one, but I did watch a documentary on it. And I do the same thing. It's like I experienced my own stuff so I could know how to place myself, I guess, to be a holding space for people. And that's kind of how it evolved. I suppose that's the easiest explanation I can give.
No, I love it. I love it because we are, it's really interesting. I usually warn people before I do this, but I'm a big believer in the mirror of the universe. And so I will often say, I'm so happy. I'm so grateful. I'm so blessed with that kind of energy behind it. Because when I do that, and that's how I'm showing up, it gets reflected back to me in the most unusual and amazing ways. And I don't have to control it. I don't have to be in charge of it. It's just how I choose to show up in the moment. And it's also kind of reminding me of the filters that I'm choosing to put on my day, because now I'm actively looking for things to be happy about, grateful for, and the blessings that can show up for me. That really shifts things for me.
Yeah, and thanks for bringing that out for me too today, because like I said, it's been a little interesting. But you know what? I mean, that's part of life. That's part of understanding who we are. It's like, wait, even when these crazy things happen and when we go through, all of that stuff, it's like, hold on a minute, why is this happening? It's not even why is it happening to me? It's why is it happening for me? Well, how can I respond instead of react like the crazy person that I did when I first started all this, and just accept and surrender to the moment, I mean, yeah, I wasn't in panic mode, but it was enough. My nervous system was enough to be like, so.
Yeah.
So
we all get that. We get that performance anxiety, right?
Yes.
Yeah, we do.
Absolutely.
Well,
absolutely.
And the beautiful thing is your presence is so much more powerful than your performance, right? And you have such a loving presence. I really enjoy being around you. It's so beautiful. So I would love to get your take on it. I ask the same question to every single guest, and I've never had the same answer twice, which I love because, your life shapes you, and how you define things in your life, it influences what you experience, right? So I would love to know, given your background, all that you've experienced, and now have you transmuted that into this inner wisdom so that you are such a light, such a beacon, how do you define abundance?
Well, can I go back to where I couldn't define abundance?
Yeah.
Kind of work up here. Yeah. So abundance didn't feel like it existed for me throughout my entire life. I never really felt what that was. And when I started my healing journey a few years after I went through like the main deep dives into the dark night of the soul and, all that kind of thing, I started to recognize that. And of course, people around me who were walking me through my, situations or whatever was going on, I started to learn that abundance wasn't just about money. Because in my generational trauma, there is a trauma within that one related to money, because it was related to World War II. And when my grandparents basically, and my mother, when she was little, basically escaped Germany, the Nazis and the SS took their money. And so it stuck. And so I was so focused on this money being the abundance piece that I overlooked all of the other things that were in my life that were abundant. And so I couldn't even really tell that other things were abundant for a long time. And so it led further and further along. And what I started to notice was the more I cleared my nervous system of this anger and the shame and the fear and all these things, that money became part of abundance, and abundance became part of my life through people and through, walking in the woods and seeing the trees, or going to the beach and the water. And, so there's plenty of abundance out there. We just get to every day have this moment, which is what I did, was like gratitude about, oh my gosh, there's an abundance of palm trees where I live. It took a lot to get to that point. Or there's an abundance of ocean. I live in South Florida, so that helped, and for the first 3 years that I was down here, that was my process. I had to work through that to discover that part of abundance. Now that's abundance outside of me, right? Now I'm starting to understand even more that as humans, just having and being and loving ourselves is abundance to me. And that's like overwhelmingly the most important thing in my heart and my life, is like just being myself is abundant, because before I was never allowed to be myself, or I was expected to be someone different, or I thought I had to be someone different. And now in this abundant space, I can just be abundantly me. And that's pretty cool, I think.
And that is so awesome. And it circles back to what we were talking about, how your presence is so much more powerful than your performance. And I love what you said, especially the distinction between external abundance and internal abundance. And in either case, there is a common thread that I'm noticing here, which is we can only experience abundance when we are present. And it is in this moment now. Now, I grant you, one of the delights in this moment now is the anticipation of, your big vacation that's coming up, or you're going out on a date and you're going to see somebody really cool, whatever it is. But that's something you experience right now, and you can savor that. You can enjoy that. I mean, anything that you want to have as like own, or a relationship you want to have, or an experience you want to have, you only want to have it because you think it will make you feel better about yourself. And so that definition you gave me, that abundance is about loving yourself inside that core. Oh my God, breakthrough. Brilliant. Now, you've described a bit about some of the challenges that you went through. You're working with your podcast. You're doing such a brilliant job with all of the episodes. And thank you for having me as a guest. That's not a plug for
absolutely. That was wonderful. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. From my side, it's a plug for you. You deserve that.
What are kind of the common symptoms, or what is the experience that you're creating through the podcast?
Well, throughout my life, having gone through all these traumas, it's like I picked this life school to create this environment for myself for breakthrough, for being able to experience things where I can understand what it feels like. I can understand what it looks like. I can't tell you how to work through it the exact same way as I did, but I can share that information. And so what I decided after, and I've done another podcast before, I called it The Ride of My Life. It was in 2022, and I was traveling across the country and doing my own healing work and sharing all these experiences about, whoa, look at all this stuff coming up. And, I didn't know who was listening, and it didn't matter to me because it was actually, helping. But in that process, what ended up happening, the decision to do this podcast, was because there's so much trauma in the world right now. And so many people are experiencing this trauma now, even as we speak, and it breaks, as an empath, it breaks my heart to watch all these people just do it. And I've seen myself doing this. So it's like, I'm stuck. I don't know how to get out of this. I don't know what's going on. And I wanted to show people, and I love doing interviews. So I wanted to show people that it's possible, it's probable, it's available to take a step into your trauma and be brave. And you have the capacity to do this. It's not that you don't, it's just fear kind of overrides everything. And then to share the experiences of people who have everyone's been through some kind of trauma. So for people to share what they've been through and then turn it on the other side to show what they're doing on this planet to help the world. So when you see someone and experience someone's trauma, especially if you connect with whatever they went through in particular, then they say, oh, well, I'm doing this and I'm doing this. And I'm like, that's kind of, I mean, that's where I came from.
Yeah.
That's where I started. And that's why I want to showcase, so to speak, other people. And it doesn't matter. I don't care if you're the most, what's the word I'm looking for? Popular, person on the planet, or you're somebody who has just walked through something that, you're even helping one person, I mean, I've always said that it's like, even if you help one heart, you've already done your job here on the planet. That's your purpose, so I'm working on expanding that concept, because I think that people need to know and understand that the truth of who they are is love. And by doing something like this on this podcast I've got, I'm sharing that love from me to you, from them to you, from, that's how we're all one, we're connected. We all bleed red, so
I love that. And, I want to share something, because a lot of people look at me and go, oh, but you're so happy and blah, 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 blah. Well, I actually had good trauma. And believe it or not, there is such a thing as good trauma, right?
Mm-hmm.
I had my stroke and I had an experience with God, of my understanding. I had a close conversation, and then I came out of the stroke with absolutely no damage. And it freaked me the hell out. I mean, it was brilliant. It was beautiful. I loved it. It was amazing. But I was so convinced nobody's going to believe me. They're all going to think I'm completely nuts. And did that really happen? And then, I kept getting downloads, and but it took me quite a while to get over the shock of really good trauma.
Right. Well, that's the thing. It's a shock to our system, the nervous system, anything that's not like, our bodies stay in homeostasis, or tries to stay in homeostasis. What that means is we try to stay centered, right? And it's part of the way the body works. And when we get flipped off in any direction, it's like, wait, that wasn't supposed to happen. Now what do I do? Right. And it's like your body's going to react to that. And trauma is not just in the mind, it's also in the body. It's actually, if I may explain kind of a little bit what trauma
Sure.
looks like, it's almost like this circle, where when you have the trauma, it could be when you were a child, it could be as an adult, whatever it is, there's micro traumas and there's macro traumas. Micro traumas don't appear to be traumatizing, but it also depends on the person that went through it. Like if you're very sensitive, a micro trauma is going to be more traumatic than someone who is not highly sensitive. So what happens is when you go through the trauma and you don't know how to respond, and we're taught in this world, even not just in the US, that feelings aren't good. We're not allowed to feel our feelings, right? So what happens is you're going through this cycle of your trauma, and there's this gap right here at the end where it's supposed to close in, because someone in your life would have taught you, or I don't like using the word should, so I'm not sure how to say that, but they would have taught you how to deal with these emotions. But because they didn't, if you're a female, you're like, mostly, especially our generation, is like, oh, you can't get angry, stuff it down, whatever. And then as a man, especially in our generations, like, you're not allowed to cry, because then you're not, whatever. So we stuff these down, and it creates this gap here where there's no completion. And so when there's no completion, every single time something in our lives comes up that creates that same feeling. It doesn't have to be in the same experience, but that similar feeling pops in and it goes right into that little gap. And then it causes it wreaks all kinds of havoc. It causes explosions. It causes, I usually say, like, whatever emotion you've got coming out is coming out sideways. It's not, you're not allowing it to work through you. And until you do the work and clear that nervous system out, so those energies, because emotions are just energy. If you don't clear the nervous system out, and you don't clear that channel out, and you don't connect with the higher power or with the earth. Now, the big thing is to remember you can't spiritually bypass anything either, because the earth will remind you that it's time to heal. So you have to have the connection between as above, so below, as within, so without, so it creates the space for you to do the healing work. And when you do it, guess what? That's when abundance comes. Because it's cleared up. There's room. It's an opening.
Right. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And you reminded me of something that I wanted to share really briefly, because during my stroke, I had this incredible conversation with the divine. And at one point they asked me a rhetorical question. They said, okay, we want you to understand something. Everything is love. You are love. The chair you're sitting in is love. The air you're breathing is love. The God of your understanding is love. Everything is love. So,
yes.
How do you create more love when everything already is love? I had no clue. And they said, well, we decided to create human beings who do not think that everything is love. And that gives you an opportunity to experience contrast, the difference between what is wanted and what is not wanted. And that friction gives you the superpower of choice. You either step back in fear, trying to stay safe, or you step forward in grateful curiosity and love, not knowing what to expect, but heart wide open. And every time you step forward, you expand the divine, you expand love. This is the cutting edge of the divine. This is why we created human beings, so that you would courageously step forward. And we throw things at you. I always tell my clients that we're weebles, we wobble, but we don't fall down. This little baby toy that has a round bottom. So you knock it and it goes side to side, right? So here we are in alignment. And then, of course, something comes up. They're fixing the roof on your place and you can't do your interview there. Oops, you go out of alignment, right? And then they want you to be out of alignment. So then you use your tools and skills to get back into alignment. It's that being out and going back in that creates the shift that benefits the divine. So of course you're going to get all kinds of crap in your life. That's just how it's designed to work, so that you can discover your own strength, your own inner power, and rise to the occasion and love being who you are. We're circling back to that idea that loving yourself is really the ultimate in abundance. So,
Well, and loving yourself is not just the ultimate in abundance. It's also why we're here. We're here to learn how to love ourselves. And the only way to do that is to create this. Our souls created this environment for us to pick and choose all these experiences, that we have, and we get to pick and we get to, and you said this, choice. It's like, first, I had a mantra years ago: be willing, be courageous, be free. And I used to stick with that. And then I'm like, wait, there's something missing here. And I couldn't figure it out for a while. And what I realized was the missing piece was choice, because we all have choice. We have free will. We can choose to not choose. That's a choice, So there's all kinds of reasons, but you're right. It's like, the intent of going inside and connecting with ourselves is for that love. It is the awakening. It is the awakening of our humanness. It's to discover ourselves first. And then when we start to love ourselves, then we can put that out to the world. And we don't even have to force it. It's the energy. It's the, I forget what the woman's name was, but she said energy is everything.
Yeah.
I don't remember what her name is, but that's what it is. It's like, it's so subtle. It's so subtle. People can pick up on your energy and your love and whether you're healed or not.
So I'm going to ask you another question, because I don't know if you've noticed this, but I sure noticed this. Every time I want something to change in my life, it turns out that something has to change inside me first. Don't you hate it when that happens? And usually it's like a shift in perspective, or a different approach, or something like that. What kind of transformation have you noticed people have to be willing to do to have a different experience that allows them to release the trauma?
Say that one. What kind of transformation do I notice that people are willing?
Yeah. What internal shift has to happen before we can experience that release?
Well, in normal life, I'm going to go with mine. It's a recognition first that, like something happens to you on the outside, or you want something, like you were saying, you want something. And I have to say in here, be careful what you ask for, because the opposite's going to come first. That's where the healing, the transformation comes in there. But when you ask for something, or things start to go chaotic in your life, it's actually giving you the opportunity for that transformation. And it took me so long to understand this. Like when something happened, I would be like, I don't know what to do. Somebody help me. And I'd go outside. I'd look for people to say, well, so-and-so, can you help me with this? I don't understand how to do this, or I don't understand how to help me. And I never got the right answer. It never sat with me ever. And it took me a long time to realize this. But once I did, that's when I started to understand that, well, first of all of your answers are within. And the only way to get in there is to look at whatever is happening outside of you, and you go, that was the hardest and the easiest thing that I had ever done in my life. It's like taking a look and being willing and being open and being, like this open opportunity to discover who you are. It's a discovery. Yeah. So when you go, well, I wonder why I'm reacting that way, or I wonder why my response is this, or I wonder why I just yelled at that person when they really didn't do, you sit with it, they really didn't do anything that bad. But then for us, if we've really been traumatized, there's a lot of explosions that can happen. But when you do that one little thing, it changes, it like shifts your brain. And be willing to question everything. And I feel like that's the beginning of how to work through into the transformation of shifting your life, whether it's something you want or something. I mean, we're here to experience life. So if you want something, if you want a new car, you're like, instead of saying, oh, I'll never get that car. Oh, I don't understand. I don't want, nobody's going to help me with that or whatever. No, it's like, maybe I just say, like you do, oh my God, I can have that car. You get to experience the car. You get to experience these things. And it's not an easy thing to do, especially when you're locked up and stuck in your nervous system. However, you do have options, whether you believe you do or not in this moment. There's always an option. There's always that choice for that transformation.
I love what you're going through here, because this whole idea of question everything, I agree. It's the questions. We live our entire life in questions. Do I have enough gas to get to the grocery store? Do I need to stop for gas first? I mean, everything, how we run our lives is all run on questions. So what would be one or two questions that could help open us up to see what's going on inside?
Well, I think the first one that comes to mind to see what's going on inside is, a lot of people ask this question anyway, who am I? Why am I here? And that kind of starts the ball rolling. But when you start that ball rolling, it's almost like you start to question, then you start to question, like, why did all this stuff happen? And the thing is that at the beginning, you can ask questions like why, because you're just getting your analytical mind in line with everything. But at a certain point, why doesn't matter. And so you start questioning, like, how can I do this differently? How can I change what isn't working for me anymore? How? Now, my understanding is the God of our understanding answers very well to the question, how, because that's his, hers, universe's job is to show you that. Now, the trick then is, and it brings up the how again, how can I listen better? How can I absorb what this is? How can I take this in and learn and understand and feel? I mean, that's the thing. It's like, how can I feel this? Because everything comes back to the feeling of whatever it is that we're going through. So it doesn't, in essence, the questions just open up everything. Then you get to the point of actually having to feel the feelings in order to release these things so you can come back out or come in to love yourself and then come back out to change the things in your life. Did that answer the question?
That answered the question so beautifully and so better than you could ever have imagined, because you gave me this epiphany.
Oh,
and
good. Okay.
Years ago, I remember reading that why questions are not effective because you don't have all the answers. And so when you ask why, you just chase your tail and you never get anywhere. Instead, what I heard, and this was the download I received, what am I feeling right now? What was my emotional response to that? What happened in the past that really triggered me? What was going on in my life? Those what questions to me take me inside myself to notice what's going on in me. And then I totally agree with you. The how questions direct it back out. It's like, okay, divine, how? I'm ready to receive guidance. This is what I want to do. I'm holding my intention. Don't know how I'm going to get there. And I'm so happy and grateful that you're guiding me to get there. And you're going to direct the perfect people and ideas and books and insights and all that stuff to me so I can experience this thing that I've chosen to experience in my life. So I love that, the dichotomy of what and how, the inner and the outer. And the how not only directs you to divine guidance, but it also leads you to the perfect people, the perfect stuff, the perfect opportunities, right?
Yeah. And you're 1,000% correct on that, because I didn't even think about the what. I'm like rambling, my head's going. I'm like, oh, what do I tell her? What do I tell her? I don't know what to tell her. So
you did great. You did great. And see, that's the thing. It's not about being perfect. It's about being present. And you were so present with the questions, and you just went through your thought process and you got into the how, and that sparked the what for me. And it was perfect. I wouldn't have had that breakthrough if you hadn't been willing to just start where you were. There's nothing broken here. There's nothing wrong.
No, not
here.
at all. Not at all.
Yeah.
And it's so, I want to, if I may add to the what piece, because you opened that piece up for me. It's like I did a video during my time on my other YouTube channel, Caroline Rena. And the video shows me at the beach holding a rubber ball under the water. And every time I try and push the rubber ball down into the water, every time I pushed it down again. So that's a visual, because when you said what, it's like everything that you said came with the word feeling. What am I feeling? What's going on inside? What's all the stuff going on inside? And by the way, Inside Out is a perfect movie. There's 2 of them now, and that helps so much. But it's like when you get into your feelings and you release them, you don't have to hold them down anymore. When they're not, I kind of explain that with clearing out the nervous system, but it's this whole thing when you say, what is that? What is that feeling? What is that thing that I can let go of now? And then, because if you don't do that and you stuff all this stuff down, it gets to the point where you can't, for me, I felt like I couldn't even get out of it. So yeah, I did ask the what questions too.
Yeah.
So thank you for bringing that up. That was perfect. But feelings are absolutely one of the most important things to bring ourselves inside. To heal. Yeah.
Caroline, you offered something so incredibly generous. I really appreciate you. You're offering a free beach meditation. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, it got me through. when I first moved down to South Florida, that's what I was, like I said, I was at the beach for 3 years, every day, even at sunrise, which was not me, and I just decided, at one point, I'm just going to record this meditation. So basically what it does is it just sits you there at the beach, and it walks you through all the sensations, like hearing the seagulls and in the water, and smelling the salt air, and touching the sand, and all these, and the water, walking into the water. So it brings you into a space, because the beach, any kind of nature, is healing. And because we're human and we're made up of the earth, our bodies connect deeply with the earth. So having this beach meditation helps you to ground yourself into the earth and allow, and here's the thing about Mother Earth, she's there for us. She's there to collect all these negative energies. So any kind of work you do in any kind of natural setting is going to help you heal, especially if you're an empath, especially because she takes that stuff from us, and then we give to her. That's us giving and receiving the energy from her. I mean, if you've been to the beach before, when you leave that day, you can't tell me that you haven't shifted.
That's
so
right.
That's
right.
one of the reasons why I decided to do the beach meditation.
And, yeah, I love that, because you also reminded me of something. Plants absorb carbon dioxide, and they transmute that. They need that for their own growth and health and well-being. So we view it as a waste byproduct. I mean, we do need some in our bodies, but most of it is waste, and we exhale it. We're trying to get rid of it. And here's this plant trying to get it. And it's the same kind of relationship that we have with the earth, and we forget that we can let all that stuff go. We're here to be a channel for the divine. And if you imagine that here you are standing on the earth, you're receiving all this divine energy, and it needs to get through you and out the other side to get into the earth. And so letting it go and flow with you makes a huge difference for everything, for the divine, for you, for the earth. Now, Caroline, one of the things that we do here at the Abundance Journey, we always turn the tables on our guests, because we know that when we give, it's when we truly receive the most. So what can we do to support you?
Ooh, okay. Well, I've never had that asked before. I think the biggest thing is, I know in my heart that people need to hear the things that are being said on these podcasts. And for my podcast, in fact, I asked Elaine, what do you feel the meaning of awakening is? And awakening is not necessarily us as the divine, because we are already set up as the divine. So that's the soul divinity piece of it. So we're finding that, or we're opening that, right? But for people to be able to awaken themselves, they get to hear something new, even though it's like this connection I was explaining, it goes up and down, because we're connecting our humanness to our divinity, which is what the point is. I feel like when people are able to listen to this podcast and share it, so that's my ask, to share this podcast with as many people as you think are going to be, interested to hear this stuff. I mean, I've got so many beautiful souls, look right here, who have offered their time to come onto this podcast of mine to share their inner beauty and their outer work to help people and to change this world. We need some of that, right? Yeah. So it's a matter of just sharing it and subscribing and, doing all the stuff you do on YouTube, whatever that is. That is the most important thing to me, because there's so many people, especially highly sensitive people and empaths, who need to hear this stuff, because I feel like all of us who are growing and changing right now and feeling these feels need to awaken, or get to awaken. Let me use a better word, get to awaken into a space where we can all connect with each other, because we've been so separated for so long. So Awakening Soul Divinity Podcast is a community being built for people to come together to do the work to change the world.
I
That was
love
good.
that.
I like that.
I
That was a
love that. That's
download.
so beautiful. And the other thing that I want to remind people, as human beings, we're busy, we're distracted, we've got lots going on. It turns out you have to hear the same thing 12 to 21 times before it really gets in there to where you decide what
Absolutely.
you're going to do with it. So don't think that this is wasted. I mean, it really does help to hear about how other people have healed, because it's proof positive that you can too. If you can see it, you can be it. And that's what's going on here. Caroline, I could keep you here all flipping day long. You are so brilliant and so generous and
Thank
so,
you.
oh my gosh, this is amazing.
Thanks.
And your voice is still here. Yay!
Yay, not much.
All right.
I'm creeping
Thank
around
you.
it. Yes,
Thank
absolutely.
you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, everybody, stick around. We're going to activate abundance in just a minute. Man, I just adore Caroline. She is so together. She's so real. You know, she has had some raw experiences in her life. And I just really admire how she's turned that around. And she feels your pain so deeply. And she's been there, so she knows how to release it. Step one to activate abundance is always gratitude. And I so appreciate how open and honest and real and vulnerable she was. She wasn't feeling great, but she came anyway. She brought it anyway. And her presence is absolutely magnetic. Such a great role model for that. I'm taking that on. I'll have what she's having. Step two is to acknowledge something you heard that was an aha for you. And she just put some pieces together for me in a way that I hadn't really thought about before, that I found really powerful. At one point, we were talking about what does it take? What's the internal shift that really gets you to a new space? And ultimately, she said, you've got to be willing to ask yourself deeper, richer questions. And then she gave me that divine download about how what questions are the things that take us inside? What am I feeling? What am I thinking about? And so often we're so busy with all the stuff racing through our heads that we're not paying attention. And it's only when we stop and slow down that we're able to notice what we're thinking, what we're feeling, what we're saying, the words we're using. I loved how she would often catch herself using a word and she'd say, I'm going to pick a different word. There's a reason for that. She knows it's all energy, and she's consistently picking higher energy, higher energy, higher energy. Love that. And then the how questions were so powerful because they open you up to divine guidance, and to receive the support that you're looking for. I thought that was a brilliant insight that Caroline brought us to. The third step is to appreciate the difference it can make in your life. Well, every time I hit a rough patch, every time I feel resistance, I know exactly what to do. I go immediately into my what questions. What am I thinking right now? What am I saying to myself? And I'm going to add another nuance to this, because I've shared a story before. I got a divine download where I received a very loud message. When you deny your power is denied to you. When you acknowledge your power is shown to you. You are more powerful than you can imagine. And it's when I start asking the what questions that I start to notice where I might be accidentally denying my power. And every time I deny my power, it feels bad. And that's why I'm feeling the resistance. So those what questions get me back into that, oh, am I denying my power, or am I acknowledging my power with this? And then I can shift into the how questions. How can I acknowledge my power? What can I say to myself? What can I focus on that empowers me to be my best, highest self? So that was like a massive for me. I just loved it. So first step is gratitude. Second step, acknowledge the insight. Third step, appreciate the difference it can make in your life. Transforms every time I experience resistance into breakthrough transformation. Caroline. I'll have what she's having. Step 4, activate it. Now we activate it. I've found 3 different ways to take something that's intangible and a concept and turn it into a tangible, real life. You can touch it, feel it, taste it, know it. And the first way is schedule time to get it done. I do that with journaling. Like I said, you've got all these things going through your head. You're having a terrible day. And now you sit down and start asking those what questions. And when you write it out, all of a sudden you get that objective perspective and you can see in a different angle what's been going on in your life and where you might be denying your power. Okay, so journaling is something that I consider as scheduled time to get it done. Meditation is really powerful. Tapping, the emotional freedom technique, tapping, super powerful. The second way to activate abundance is to create a physical trigger, like crossing your fingers or tugging on your earlobe. Anything that you use when you're stepping into a situation that in the past you have found to be stressful, now you're claiming your power with a physical trigger as you walk in the door or before you walk in the door. Another thing is to stand in the Wonder Woman pose with your hands on your hips, your feet shoulder width apart, shoulders back, chin up. Do that for 2 minutes. And I've forgotten her name, something or other Cuddy. She's got a TEDx talk about it. It really does change the hormones in your brain. And then to Caroline's point, go to the center of the earth and pull a huge wave of grounding energy up through your feet, through your body, out the top of your head. Send it up to the divine, to the God of your understanding, and feel that power fill every single atom of your body. And just know that you are here to have a divine experience. No matter what happens, you've got the tools, the abilities, the skills to handle it. And so all you get to do is walk into the situation and notice what is present for you. That physical trigger, game changer. Third way to activate abundance is to work with something that I call an abundance buddy. Most people call them accountability buddies, but hey, I'm all about the abundance. So this is somebody who knows you, who gets you, who loves you, who really values you and the journey that you're on. And you make a declaration. You're going to say, hey, every time I start to hit a roadblock, every time I hit something that really frustrates me or angers me or whatever, I want to use my what questions to go inside, and then my how questions to connect with the divine and receive the divine guidance. If you notice that I'm not doing that, would you please call me on it lovingly, compassionately, and just point out that I'm not doing what I said I wanted to do, because I really am committed to doing this. That will make a huge difference for you because, we're so stuck in our patterns and our old habits that sometimes we don't notice when we aren't living into who we truly are. So that abundance buddy can make a big difference. Okay, step 5, celebrate your progress. This is an incredible unfolding of the beauty, the majesty that you are. You are such a blessing and you are blessed. So remember, bless yourself with the what questions and the how questions, and allow the divine to support you. Love you so much. Thank you for joining me today. I'll see you next time for the Abundance Journey.
You've been listening to the Abundance Journey Show with Elaine Starling. Visit theabundancejourney.com/podcast gifts to access today's gift, as well as gifts from our other guests. Tune in every week to activate abundance in your life and business. If something resonated with you, please share it with your friends so they can benefit too. Keep activating abundance, and we'll see you in the next episode.